So, once again, good afternoon everyone, and especially to you, Ma'am Ibing, Miranda. As I've discussed earlier, the curriculum consideration, I have to add it on. Curriculum considerations are the identification of pathways of experiences and engaging students in activities and interactions directed toward securing the kinds of knowledge intended to be learned through these processes. And curriculum consideration has three types. The first one is the context of learning and teaching. It involves making learning meaningful to students by connecting to the real world. It draws upon students' diverse skills, interests, experience, and cultures and integrates these into what and how students learn and how they are assessed. How is it important? It is important because for students to be able to transfer new knowledge and understanding, they have to have a grasp of how it can be used. And the second one is the learners and the teachers. This too is common for us. For example, we as a student, we are learners. And the teachers also a learner too. While they are discussing their topic, they learn from it. And also the people in the society, they are also a learner too. The learners and the teachers has important role in our society. They have a relationship and it is important. So why the relationship of learners and the teachers are important? Because teachers who foster positive relationships with their students create classroom environments more conducive to learning and meet students' developmental, emotional, and academic needs. And the last one is appropriate teaching delivery during the time of pandemic and beyond. COVID-19 pandemic, such as lack of opportunities, network and internet use, planning, implementation and evaluation of learning and collaboration with parents. So, alam natin na hindi talaga madali na tayo ay nag-aaral during pandemic. It is difficult for us as a student because of like distance learning. But we continue to study to get our goals. But despite the other challenges of the pandemic, it is imperative for education to continue. Education has a stabilizing effect on learners in times of emergencies. It often brings a sense of normality that softens the blow of vulnerability in times of disorder. Aside from these three curriculum considerations, there are more curriculum consideration, and these are need analysis, target group, aims and objectives, content, learning theories, approaches and methods, personnel, material selection, monitoring and support, assessment and evaluation, and the last one is constraint. In curriculum consideration, target group needs analysis on their aims and objectives of content with learning theories, approaches, and methods. The personnel also needs material selection, assessment, and evaluation to monitor and support, but there are constraints. A curriculum is more than putting together a set of academically required subjects. Several things must be considered, such as the learning needs of students, the consensus of teachers and administrators, the expectation of the community, and the current breakthroughs in academic fields. Designing a curriculum involves the interaction of several participants reaching beyond the academic wall to impact the entire community. Without an effective curriculum, students would not be able to understand or meet the challenges of society. So the first one of consideration is the target group. And in the target group, there are 6 that the personnel need to target with. These are individual needs, abilities, interests, potentials, multiple intelligences, various learning styles, and learning modes. And the second one is needs analysis. In needs analysis, one of the basic assumptions of curriculum development is that a sound educational program should be based on an analysis of learners' needs. Procedures used to collect information about learners' needs are known as needs analysis. Right objectives. In needs analysis, there are 8 to analyze. The first one is right objectives, which is questionable. What is it that you want to learn from the needs analysis? And the second one is select audience, which is questionable. Who is the target audience? Whose needs are you measuring, and to whom will you give the required information? And the third one is to collect data, which is questionable. How will you collect data that will tell you what you need to know? Will you collect data directly from the target audience or indirectly? Select audience sample, which is questionable. How will you select a sample of respondents who represents the target audience? And the fifth one is choose an instrument, which is questionable. What instrument and techniques will you use to collect data? And the sixth one is analyze data, which is questionable. How will you do with information that you gain? And the seventh one is the follow-up, which is questionable. What will you do with information that you gain? And the last one is make decision, which is questionable. What kind of decision is to be made from the information gained? Needs analysis is important to the development of a new program. The outcome of a needs analysis should be a list of goals and objectives, which is important to determine the direction and target of the program. For example, before setting up a remedial program in school, the teacher should analyze the results from the summative evaluation and students' performance. The findings of the needs analysis will serve as a basis for developing tests, materials, teaching activities, evaluation strategies. Just for example, students are weak in grammar, so the teacher needs to prepare more materials and suitable tasks to address the problem identified. Re-evaluating the precision accuracy of the original needs analysis is important because the feedback helps to realign or improve existing practice in developing curriculum. Just for example, before starting on a new program, the teacher should reflect on the shortcomings of past practices so that those shortcomings can be overcome. And the third one of the considerations is the aims and the objectives. Aims: to produce beginning teachers who have skills and values. Develop the knowledge and the skills of teachers in line with the national philosophy of education and the national education policy towards the realization of education blueprint. The aims of curriculum are the reasons for undertaking the learning journey. Aims are broad and all-encompassing, while the objectives or learning outcomes are specific, behavioral, and student-focused. For the fourth one, consideration, which is the content. This is another main lever of education quality. the knowledge, skills, and attitude imparted by learning areas or subjects, cross-cutting approaches, and extracurricular activities is a main source of systematic and comprehensive learning. The main purpose of the content is to exist in quality instruction. In content, there are 5 types. This is the relevant, appropriate, up-to-date, valid, and feasibility. And the 5th one, learning theories, approaches, and method. Example of these learning theories: cognitive learning theory, behaviorism, constructivism, humanism learning theory, connectivism, transformative learning theory, social learning theory, and the last one is the experiential learning theory. There are 8 learning theories, approaches, and method. An approach gives rise to methods, the way of teaching language items, example via classroom activities or techniques. A method is how a language is taught. A method is made up of a set of techniques that usually reflect a particular view of language teaching. There are 3 designs in learning theories, approaches, and methods, and these are subject-centered designs, learner-centered designs, problem-centered designs. And in subject-centered designs, there are 5 example designs, like academic subject designs, discipline designs, broad field designs, correlation designs, and the last one is the process designs. In learner-centered designs, there are 3: child-centered, romantic or radical designs, and the last one is humanistic designs. In problem-centered designs, there are 3 also: life situation designs, core designs, and the last one is social problem designs. 6th consideration is the personnel. It is the staff function whose primary role is to help the organization achieve its goal. The operation of personnel function is dependent on the broad strategy, policies, and structures of the organization. The examples of personnel is the curriculum planners, teachers, technical staff, and administrative staff. And these are important personnel to create and to implement the curriculum. So for number 7 consideration, material selection, equipment including IT and AV equipment, models and simulators, laboratory and clinical equipment, whiteboards, flip charts. Finances. The course will require adequate funding to sustain its activities. Books, journals, and multimedia resources. List of core textbooks for each part of the course and other resources including reference text. This should be supported by other resources such as journals. For example, for journals is printed or online, and multimedia packages. The library will be the main support structure for these resources, but additional resources may also be delivered through an internet or via departmental libraries. Teaching rooms, office space, social and study space. Requirements for supervision and delivery for practical teaching. Availability of schools, monitors, supervisors. And the eighth one consideration is the assessment and evaluation. In designing the assessment methods that measure students' performance, the starting point should always be the stated learning outcomes. Assessments must be checked the students have achieved the learning outcomes in various contexts and thus that the content has been covered. Evaluation is a system of feedback providing information to planners, teachers or trainers, students, parents, and decision makers. Evaluation is a process involving ongoing activities aimed at gathering timely information about the quality of a program. And the ninth one of curriculum considerations is the monitoring and support. A monitoring and support is a process of gathering information for evaluating the effectiveness of the curriculum and ensuring that the intended, implemented, and attained curricula are aligned. It measures the extent to which the curriculum is commensurate with the diverse needs of all learners. In monitoring and support, there are 9 to how they monitor and support and who monitor and support. The first one is student recruitment and selection processes. Second one is teaching staff. The third one is training needs for teachers. And the fourth one is the teaching and learning processes. And the fifth one is assessment. And the sixth one is regulation and procedures. And the seventh one is availability of recommended books and journals and other teaching materials. And the eighth one is access to the library and other sources. And the last one is performance standards. And these are how they monitor and support. And who monitor and support? The personnel. And the last curriculum consideration is the constraints. Technological, ICT, lab, or should we say laboratory, LCD, or etc. For timing, implementation, readiness, and duration, the length, lectures, co-curriculum, practicum, internship, and etc. Constraints, it is matter of conviction that if schools could be organized on right lines and becomes dynamic centers of progressive educational movements, the whole task of educational reconstruction would be greatly facilitated. However, teachers, being the curriculum implementers, are faced with barriers which hinder the successful implementation of the curriculum. And that's all. Thank you for listening. And once again, good afternoon, everyone.